Hi, I'm Chanel. With the dry weather we've been experiencing on the Isle of Man, I chatted with Manx Utilities Head of Water, Gareth Pratchett, to find out how the levels are looking at the reservoirs.
Well, the levels at the dams or the reservoirs are in quite good order for the time of year. The reason for that is because in March and April we got something like nearly double the amount of rainfall that we normally get. So that has a knock-on effect of water still running into the reservoirs for a few weeks after that. So that meant that even though May was the driest since 2008, I think, there was still a lot of water going into the reservoirs. So if you think of the reservoirs less of just being a reservoir, a tank full of water, but a system where it's all the hills around and the rivers and the streams. So when you get 6-8 weeks of dry weather, it doesn't necessarily cause a problem. So we're in better condition than we were in 2018 when we had the biggest drought for some years.
I did check your site and it was last updated on the 12th of June and it said that the level was sitting at 90%.
Right.
Do you have an updated figure for us? What is it now?
I do. It's 89%. So it's gone down 1% since we last released it. That's today. That's taken this morning.
No, perfect. And is that worrying or has it been anticipated?
It's not worrying at all. Obviously, if it doesn't rain again until October, we'll be looking at a drought. Fortunately, that doesn't happen very often. So, yeah, it's kind of around what we'd expect to be at this time of year.
At what stage then do you start worrying about the dam level, the dam or the reservoir levels? Because I know we had some worries last year and we also had a hosepipe ban.
Okay, so the amount of worry that we have is proportional to a number of factors. One is the amount of water that we're using, the time of year, and the amount of water we've got at any time. So if we were at 60%, say, at this time of year, we'd think that was starting to cause alarm. But 60% at the end of August isn't as alarming. So what we compare it across the season and we look at where we are in the season rather than a hard figure.
So we're doing much better than we would have anticipated before, maybe.
Yes, although I got some interesting figures off it. In 2018, when we had the drought, we were actually at 83% on exactly this date, and we still ended up so. And now we're at 89%. Now that's quite a lot of water, but it's not. It doesn't mean to say that everything's going to be. We still have to keep an eye on things. One thing that I did want to say was that customer demand is really high at the moment. It's some 20% higher than normal and higher than it was in 2018. So we want to try and get a message across to people. Yes, we're not in an emergency situation, but it always helps if people are sensible with water use.
No, perfect. So people are using a little bit more, especially now with the summery dry weather.
Yes, people always use more when it's dry. People are watering plants, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's when we pay our water rates. But it is quite a lot higher than normal. And so that obviously causes the reservoir to drop more quickly. So if people can just be sensible and turn taps off when they're not in use and hose pipes, and that helps everybody.
If it does get to a point, would there have to be a decision on another hosepipe ban?
Yes, so we have trigger values for hosepipe bans. It's the first step in our drought plan. And like I said earlier, we are some way off that at the moment.
If I can move on to fires. So just this weekend, we had the fire and rescue service attending to a fire in Greba. Now, they used over 60,000 litres of water. Now, I'm not sure if it's connected or to the reservoir or how they get their water through, but does this have an impact? And do you work, does the MU work closely with the fire department?
Okay, so the fire at Greba, I'm not sure where the fire service got their water. It could well have been from our watermen. There's fire hydrants all over the island, isn't it? Now, 60,000 litres, yes, if everybody was using 60,000 litres, that would be. But one-off use of 60,000 litres is quite small compared to the amount of water we produce every day. But yes, we wouldn't want to see water wasted on unnecessary fires. So yeah, if people can be careful with barbecues and things, that's the uplands will be very dry now. So fire is a thing, and we do work with the fire service. Yeah.
So when they call out, is it sometimes that they tap into the reservoir then?
No, they use fire hydrants. But sometimes they'll ask us if we can provide more water, because as soon as you open a fire hydrant on a small system, it takes all the water away. So if we can get more water to that area, we will do. I'm not sure if we were contacted about the Greba one, but we do sometimes.
So it seems as though everything's fine.
Yes, we're keeping an eye on things, I think.
At what level is when, I know you said 83 was in 2018 when you started to worry a little bit. At what level do you start to...
So we didn't worry. We didn't worry on this day in 2018. I was just saying in 2018 we were a bit worse off, but we ended up having to have a hosepipe ban, didn't we, later in the year. In the COVID year, it was different because that was a drought that came very early, and we got a very dry spring. So I would say we were at the stage where we're keeping an eye on the situation.
How often do you guys do checks?
Well, we can see the levels in the two big reservoirs all the time. We can see it on telemetry, so we can see them and we record but we do visit the sites each day, once a day.
If I can move on to leaks, we've seen lots of posts of leaks or burst pipes that the teams have been sent out to repair. Any idea why it is? Is it due to aging infrastructure, or what could be the reason behind it?
Okay, so we are seeing a slightly increased frequency of bursts on the system, and that's because of the hard, dry ground. It's always a factor. The ground contracts and it breaks the pipes. Leaks are something that we consider slightly different. So a leak is where water's escaping, but the customers still have water. We're not seeing an increase in leaks. We are getting a number of reported leaks that aren't actually leaks, because what happens is when the ground dries, some springs and things find ways and it can come up in the road. So we always investigate them. So if anybody sees water, please get in touch. But we are seeing, because the roads are so dry, people do notice water in it, and often it is either an overflowing trough in a farm or just groundwater, and sometimes it might be one of our leaks. So yeah, it's very helpful. We have seen some instances of people using sprinklers to such an extent that the water's actually running off their gardens and into the road. So, in
regards to the bursts?
Yeah, well, we always repair bursts as quickly as we can. So a burst is how we consider a burst is where some customers don't have water. So it's failed catastrophically, and we always fix them straight away.
But you mentioned earlier, so that's due to the ground hardening, and that's why we're noticing them.
Yes. Yeah, so we get increased bursts if the ground is frozen or very dry. That's common across the industry. So
it's nothing to be worried about?
No. We measure the amount of leakage, or we calculate the amount of leakage, and we're not seeing any increase.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add or you'd like to say?
No, just the message about, please use water wisely. If everybody uses water wisely, then it makes it easier for everybody.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.